welcome to this gentle postnatal yoga sequence. So this is the class you want to do about 6 to 8 weeks after you've had your baby, once your doctor has given you the okay, but we're obviously still practicing in a way that's really gentle. I think many of us have this unrealistic expectation that the doctor says, yep, you're right to go, and you get back into what you used to do. But doing that can often cause a lot more damage. The pelvic floor needs a lot more recovery. So does the core, and the whole body is depleted from pregnancy and birth and looking after a newborn. So this is the class I recommend you starting with if you are early postnatal. If you did have a cesarean birth, I'll leave a link below to the class that I did specifically for this. So start with that one, and then you can come and join us in this one. Throughout this class, I will give alternatives to things that may not feel great if you've had a C-section, things especially like stretching up too much. But obviously, if there's anything that just doesn't feel good for you, please just skip it and rejoin us when you can. So, like I said, this will be a really gentle and slow class. This is about creating some space to breathe and to be in your own body with your own thoughts. So when you have a baby, you end up on high alert. I'm sure it's a biological thing to make sure that we are really attentive to our babies and we're there for them when they need us. But it almost feels like this really high, stressed out, anxious state. And so we're just going to bring it down, and also we're really going to focus on some gentle pelvic floor and core engagement, and then we'll be practicing that pelvic floor and core engagement in other poses. So we're starting to really strengthen that area to be able to support the body to do other movements as well. We'll of course also open up the chest because you've probably been wrapped around a newborn for many weeks and you're feeling a little bit sore and tight in the upper chest. And we'll do a little bit of stretching of the legs because we know that these can often get tight from all the sitting and feeding baby as well. So this particular class is one in my postnatal series. If you'd like to check out the other videos, I'll leave them below. You can either buy that as a standalone product, or you can access all of these postnatal videos and the rest of my library in my online yoga circle. Again, all the links will be below. Let's get into this class. So we're actually going to start over a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, just get some cushions or some pillows to place between the legs. And the reason we're going to do this is because by sitting like this, you'll have the pelvic floor resting on the bolster, which makes for a great cue to be able to lift those muscles in and up. So I want you to think about the pelvic floor as a hammock of muscles that hang from the pelvis. So they hang from the sit bones, the pubic bone, and the tailbone. And so as you inhale, I want you to really breathe into the belly and expand out into the side ribs. And then as you exhale and these parts of you decrease in size, I want you to engage that pelvic floor, lift it in and up. So almost like you're trying to lift it off the bolster. And then inhale into the belly again. Exhale as you engage, lift in and up. If you need to, you could even put your hand there just to give you a little bit more connection between mind and body if you're struggling to connect to lift those muscles up. So let's do a few more of these. And then just stay where you are. Let's take a few shoulder rolls. So really press the sit bones into the bolster, roll the shoulders back and down, doing a couple of these. And then we'll do one at a time. So take the right shoulder and then the left. So we also know that opening up the body helps to do something to our energy. It's almost like we can fake high energy by making the body nice and big, which when you're curled around a newborn all the time can be really hard to do. So even just 5 minutes of really opening up the chest can help with your energy levels if you're really struggling. I know for me, my little ones never slept well in the early days. In fact, my 1-year-old still isn't a great sleeper. All right, as you exhale, tuck the chin in towards the chest, look down towards the belly button. And then inhale, open up the chest. So really gentle cat-cows, exhale. You should feel the pelvis moving as well. Inhale, rock forward. And exhale. Let's come forward, come off that bolster. So come into your tabletop. So bring the hands underneath the shoulders, the knees under the hips. And as you inhale, I just want you to really gently lift the tail, lift the head, let the belly sink. So if you've had a cesarean and this doesn't feel good, you can just stay at the tabletop and just work with the exhale, so doing the cat. So if it does feel good, inhale, lift the tail, lift the head. And as you exhale, round, look back towards the thighs. Inhale. And exhale. Return the spine to neutral. And I want you to let the belly be nice and soft here, so let it hang. And then I want you to feel as you engage those muscles, lift them up in towards the spine and draw the pelvic floor in and up. And gently release. And engage, lift the belly in, up towards the spine, engage the pelvic floor. I want you to notice how the pelvis feels. So you might feel like a little bit of a widening through the sit bones as this area is supported, especially by that low core and the pelvic floor. So now I want you to just add on slightly. So engage the areas, lift the belly in, engage the pelvic floor, shift the weight into the right and just slide the left foot out. And then slowly bring it back in. So you notice I'm not moving too much through the rest of my body, like I'm not doing a big rock. I'm trying to keep those hips in a line, almost as if you had a glass balancing on the tailbone. So take the right leg out and draw it back in. And then the left leg out and draw it back in. And the right leg out and draw it back in. We're going to do the same thing now, except we're going to take the right hand to the left shoulder and then gently release. So engage pelvic floor and core, left hand to right shoulder, and gently release. One more on each side. And gently release. So take the right hand now up towards the sky. So if this doesn't feel good, if you've had a cesarean, just come back to your child's pose. If it does feel good, press into the left hand, reach the right hand to the sky, and then pass that shoulder under. Head finds the floor, we find our thread, the needle. So you gently press into the left hand, get that beautiful big stretch through the upper back. As you inhale, press back into that left hand. Take the right back to the sky and return it down. Inhale, left. And as you exhale, pass it under. Just settle in and stay here. Press back into that right hand, left to the sky, and then return it down. So we're going to melt the heart forward because this feels really good through the chest and opening up through those shoulders. If it's too much of a stretch on the belly at all and it doesn't feel good, just ease back a little bit so you sit more towards the heels. If it does feel good, slide forward so the hips sit over the knees. Rest the forehead down. And just take a breath into any areas of your body that feel tight. So even here, we can have that core and pelvic floor engagement. So on the inhale, breathe into the belly. On the exhale, lift the belly in towards the spine, engage the pelvic floor. And gently release. As you inhale, start to slowly walk the hands back. So I want you to bring your weight forward so you're in a bit of a plank. So if this is too much, you can come back to your tabletop. But if it feels okay, come to your plank. So the hips come forward. And then as you exhale, just gently rock back, sit back towards the heels. Inhale, move forward. So the core needs to engage, pelvic floor engages as the hips move forward. And then exhale, come all the way back. Inhale, move forward. Exhale, move back. This time as we move forward, we're going to come all the way down onto the belly into our crocodile. Bend the elbows, bring the chest all the way down. So rest one side of the head on the floor and just let everything go. Maybe even give the hips a little bit of a wriggle side to side. And then we come up into our Sphinx pose. So bring the elbows underneath the shoulders, the hands rest on the mat. Gently draw the toes in towards each other and just see if you can press into the elbows to lift the heart a little more. Now you can either stay with this pose, especially if you've had a cesarean, it might not feel good to come any higher. If you do want to come a little higher, the hands can come wide. As you inhale, tuck the chin in, roll the spine up. Legs are nice and engaged, the glutes are on, lift the head. And then exhale, slowly come back down. Inhale to rise. Exhale and lower. Inhale. And exhale. One more, inhale. And exhale, release all the way down. Bring the hands underneath the chest. Bring your weight all the way back to child's pose. Take a seat towards the heels. Rest the forehead. Maybe rock from side to side if that feels good. As you inhale, let's come up. Bring the left foot forward. So we're coming into a low lunge. So I know for me, after each of my births, opening through the hips felt a little bit icky, to be honest. I didn't feel like I had the pelvic floor support to get anywhere near a warrior two. If you've ever tried to do a yoga class too soon after birth, you know warrior two feels a little bit scary. So we're just going to work up to that sort of thing by coming into the kneeling lunge first. So there's a little bit of hip opening, but we're going to practice that core and pelvic floor engagement. So as you inhale, breathe into the belly. And as you exhale, engage, lift the pelvic floor in and up, engage through that core. I'm doing this 3 more times. And then we step back, bring that left knee back and just come to your tabletop. Take a little rock from side to side, release through those hips. And step the right foot forward. So just like we did on the opposite side, as you inhale, breathe into the belly. It can be helpful to also squeeze the inside of the knee in towards the elbow, just so that you're activating the inner thighs. On the exhale, the pelvic floor and core engages. And then we do this 3 more times. And then slowly step that right foot back. I'm going to come all the way down onto the back now. So because you're early postpartum, I want you to keep using the arms to support. We don't want the body to have to do any crunching action just yet. So come all the way back down, rest the head down. I just want you to gently wipe the legs from side to side. So take the knees over to the right, find a bit of a stretch, lift the left arm up if it feels good. If this doesn't feel good for a cesarean scar, you can always make it a little bit more gentle, put something underneath the knees. Otherwise, see if you can breathe into the stretch. And then gently wipe the legs to the opposite side. And then come back to center. So I want you to bring the feet in towards the hips. And we're just going to take a few pelvic tilts to start with. So as you inhale, I want you to let the hips settle. And then as you exhale, I want you to press that low back into the mat. Tilt the pelvis towards you, engage the pelvic floor. And then inhale, let them rock forward. Exhale as you engage. Inhale as you relax. Exhale, engage. Inhale, relax. Let's do a few roll-ups here. So we're adding on exhale as you press into the feet, lift the hips up. Inhale as you slowly roll back down. Exhale, press, engage the core, pelvic floor, lift up. Exhale as you slowly roll back down. So adding on this time just a little bit more awareness as you exhale, press into the feet. I want you to think about pressing into the heels so the glutes engage. So this is another muscle that helps to support the pelvis, and obviously what we need after having a baby because everything is a little bit looser. Slowly rolling down. All right. Step the feet out slightly. So I want you to turn back on that engagement. So the core is engaged, the pelvic floor is engaged, and just lift the left leg up. And then slowly bring it back down. So I want you to see if you can hold this engagement while you lift one leg up and return it down. So I know for me, straight after having a baby, this was really challenging. I felt like, especially after my third, that lower core just had disappeared. So if this is challenging for you, stay here. So really pressing that low back into the floor, engaging the core. If this isn't challenging for you, you can take both legs up so you'll feel that core turn on, and maybe you just stay here. So the low belly is engaged, pelvic floor is engaged. Again, if this isn't challenging, you're going to go the next step up, take one toe down and lift it back up. One toe down and lift it back up. Stay with the breath, stay nice and slow and controlled. So you're not kind of like swinging, there's not a lot of pelvis movement going. You really want to keep this pelvis nice and supported with that core, with that pelvic floor. So what this is doing is starting to tone those deep abdominal muscles. So yes, we could potentially get back into bigger work. We could get back into running. We could get back into doing bigger weights. But what's going to happen is if you haven't built these smaller muscles back up, you'll have the other muscles compensating. So the bigger muscles will come into support, and you'll find after a while you'll start getting injuries because you haven't supported enough. So this is why this is really important to build up slowly. And hopefully you're starting to feel this. Just gently hug the knees into the chest, whichever option you're on. Pull the knees to the side and just take a little rock from side to side. One last thing before we finish up for today, bring the left hand and press it into the right thigh. So you can do this with the hands on the ground. You just have to reach a little bit further through the left hand. If your legs are up, press the left hand into the right thigh, and you're just going to stay with this pressure. The leg presses into the hand and the hand presses into the leg. If you're just watching me and not doing this, I highly recommend getting down and doing it because it doesn't look like much, but I promise you, even I can still feel this now. Then change side, right hand presses into the left. Try and keep those knees over the hips. See if you can keep breathing, keep that pelvic floor engaged. And then hug the knees back into the chest. We're going to stretch the body out long now for our shavasana. I always prefer now to have the bolster underneath my legs. Takes the pressure out of the low back. So you might want to get something underneath the legs to support. And then just let your body rest into the mat. Let's take a big breath in together and sigh it out. Big breath in, sigh it out. So trying to let go of some of that stressed, high alert, anxious energy we carry as new mums. Once more. And as you sigh, let everything sink into the mat. Let everything rest. And see if you can just find the breath here. Follow it as it moves in and out of the lungs. Know that there's nothing else for you to do here and now. Just breathe. Enjoy a few moments with the eyes closed, being still. Start to flutter the eyes open, stretching the body out. I don't know about you, but I could have had a nap right then. All right, when you're ready, rolling to one side, coming up, having a seat. Cross the ankles over. Roll the shoulders back and down, sit into those sit bones, but pressing them into the floor beneath you. Thank you again for joining me for this class. I know how precious time is when you've got a new baby, and I think you're amazing for dedicating this to yourself. I certainly wasn't there after my first baby. It really took me 3 to realize how important postnatal recovery is and rebuilding from the inside out, not just jumping back into high intensity exercise. So well done you for realizing that. Thank you again for sharing your practice with me, and namaste. Thanks again for joining me for this class. Like I said, this particular class is a part of my postnatal yoga series. So if you would like more classes for recovery to really get you back to feeling strong and able before you jump into more high intensity exercise, I'll leave the link below. You can either purchase this series as a single product, or you can sign up for my online yoga circle where you'll find well over 100 classes for early motherhood. Thank you again for being here. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this class, and I'll see you in the next video. Namaste.